Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
That's a good Casio 80s drum.
Thank you.
Because it oddly has like a laser sound
It
in the
does.
drum.
It does.
It's very laser drum.
It's not quite a drum. It's yeah.
Laser drum. I play the laser drums.
All right, Billy. What instrument are you going to want to play? I want to play the laser drum.
Laser drums. That actually sounds like a product that they tried to sell in the 80s, and it didn't just get off. It was like you could get a power glove for Nintendo for Christmas or laser drums.
Right. And the kid's like, well, I mean, power glove.
Power glove for
Even
sure.
though the laser drums were far better.
Yeah.
Were far more effective.
Far better.
I wonder if laser drums will do better now than they did then. Like electric cars in the 80s.
Right.
Nobody wanted one. It was a golf cart.
Yeah.
But now everybody wants an electric car. So I wonder,
Let's bring back the laser drum.
laser drums.
Laser drums. this Christmas. That should be a bio-friendly product.
The laser drums.
The laser drums by Biofriendly.
I love it.
I love it. Hey.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, look what we can
Hey.
do right now. We can do a toast. We can do a cheers.
We can reach our arms across the 6 feet of distance.
For those of you at home who are listening to the show, you don't see right now that we are in the presence of one another, safely distant, but in the presence of one another,
But in present.
with a new addition to the scene of our show. A sign.
We have a sign.
We have a sign.
We're very excited about our sign. We've always wanted a sign. Now we have a sign.
We've always wanted a sign, and now it's here. It's arrived. We've arrived. It's official.
Yeah.
Now this show is legit.
Took us a couple years.
It took us a little
But
while.
now we're actually how many years have we on this thing?
We've
One and
only
a half?
been a year and a half.
Year
But
and a
this
half.
is episode 79.
Seriously?
Yeah, 79.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're
getting
closing quite prolific.
Closing in on the magic 100th episode. I feel like we should do something kind of big for that one, right? Like we should do like a celebration, like 100th.
My kids have been asking for like some kind of podcast party rager event.
So we've promised that for a while.
while.
So that maybe right around the holidays, that might be the perfect time
do
to do
something.
that. Yeah.
Do something nice.
We gotta bring
real nice.
something real nice for the kids. For the kids.
Yeah.
Well, you doing good?
I'm doing good. You doing good?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Welcome back to
Welcome
the office.
Welcome back to the office. We're not Zooming today. We're rooming.
We're
today.
rooming.
This is a room meeting. Today it's not a pleasant subject overall.
No.
It's
But we can laugh about it.
We can laugh,
Or can we?
We can laugh about anything. I mean, hey, we once turned oil spills into
We
a
did.
very funny
into
episode.
hilarity.
So we can make a joke about anything. But no, this is the California fires.
Also hilarious.
Also, it's like the California raisins, the California fires.
California fire. Oh, that's
yeah.
right.
Yes, it's not been us in Los Angeles.
Well, it was for a little bit.
A little bit.
Somehow, either somebody in Azusa or something that they've put in Azusa
Yeah.
always lights a fire every year.
Yeah.
Because every year, the mountains just to the south of us,
Yeah.
I guess it's not really, it's kind of the southeast of us.
Southeast.
But they're there every year. Every year.
Yeah.
That we say the Azusa Canyon's on fire.
Yeah.
We're like, well, how could it still be on fire? Everything's gone. Everything's burned.
I'm beginning to think that it never stops burning. Like it's just they get it out to like what's like a matchstick.
Is it like the Billy Joel problem?
Yeah, it's
It was always burning?
we never stop the fire. Yeah, you're right. That region, because it's dry, it's hot, it happens a lot. And Southern California fires, that's not anything that is really a surprise to us nowadays. You know,
Right.
like right when the season rolls around, you're kind of like, well, it's about that time again.
Yeah, our vegetation down here isn't quite as full as what it is up in the north. Like down here, we got some trees. Don't get me wrong, but we also have, because it's more close to the desert, a little hotter. We just
Right.
have a lot of newer, younger trees that that people decide to light on fire.
Yeah.
Every year.
I don't know why, but they do it.
I don't know. Maybe it's not people. Maybe it's not always people. I can't say it's always people, but it just seems weird to me that every year Azusa Canyon's on fire. Why
Yeah.
that? Why there?
I don't know.
It just.
Let's get to the bottom of it.
Let's get to the bottom of it.
Well, we're talking more specifically about Northern California, Central California, up in the Bay Area and up into Oregon, because it seemed as though about 2 weeks ago, lightning struck every single spot.
Every spot.
And everything went en flambe.
En flambe.
And it's been bad.
It's been
bad up there.
Yeah, it's been. There's been a lot of fire. It's been going on for quite a while. And up there, as we mentioned, opposite from here, the forests are older, and there's just a lot to burn.
Yes, there is.
But it's a different. We don't necessarily do the best job, I think, of caring for the forests as the natives did when they lived here.
Right.
And to keep them in a position where the fires can be smaller and more natural. But, they need, those forests are designed to have fires. Like, if you go into, the biggest trees on Earth are in, Northern California and southern Utah, southern Oregon. Southern Oregon, right? And those trees, they need the fire to grow. To get new trees, they need fire.
Yes.
So every time they have recorded, you went recently to the Sequoias, right?
I did.
So you saw that wonderful, great big cutout of that huge tree next to the General Sherman, right? And it was like a 2,000-year-old tree, and then they showed on the tree all of the different times when that tree had babies.
Yes.
And it was 200 fire events in its 2,000 years.
Yeah, it was very.
And each of those fire events was
impressive.
a chance for more babies. And they survive it. They're built to live through that, right?
Yeah.
That's why the bottom of them don't have little branches anymore. All the branches are up high, and the bottom is just, wood that can withstand fire, provided that it doesn't get too hot.
Right.
But
That's
when
the
you
key.
don't clear out the forest and when there aren't enough small fires, which there haven't been, it gets really hot. And
That's where it gets bad. And
burn down.
you're touching on what...
Did I just ruin the whole show?
You ruined it. So let's
Sorry.
just call it there. That was a good show. It's great.
Sorry,
Thanks
guys.
for joining us, the Biofriendly Podcast. That was
Sorry, gang.
Noel basically figured out what caused the problem. No, I was going to say, getting into lightning strikes. So one of the stats that I read was 12,000 strikes over 72-hour period of time, which caused more than 560 new wildfires. So that basically was a lot of lightning strikes.
So
at
Zeus
once.
was just having a Zeus
he was just like
he got into the whiskey.
Well, bam! Yeah,
He was having a tequila party with the ladies.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, ladies.
Hey, look what I can do.
Check this out.
Look at these 500 lightning strikes. No, 1,200. What was it? 12,000 strikes.
12,000 lightning strikes.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. But this isn't anything. So we haven't seen a storm activity like that in that area in quite some time. And so I was trying to figure out what caused it. Why is there a higher volume of storms lately?
Right.
So before we get into why the fires are, why we're seeing, because you've lived here your whole life. I've lived here for, 20 years. And wildfires are something that you get used to at certain times of the year. You just go yeah, it's going to happen. Something's going to catch on fire.
And our fire department here is unbelievable.
Yeah, they're so great at it.
They get on it really quickly.
Right.
And to be fair about the clearing out of the forest and all, I mean, they're not the... They're not the Park Service, and they can only do what they can do, right?
Exactly.
But the fire roads are all clear and they're clean, and they can get to the fires, and they get up there and they
do a fantastic
job. They really are amazing.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah.
We have our forest fire department, both here and in Northern California, are they use them everywhere. People when they're hosed, they call on California because we're so good at it.
Yeah. We're great. We're great at this.
And this was no exception. They're doing it. I mean, they've got the fire up there 60% contained. So they're
we're almost. I mean, through the worst of it now. After a couple weeks later, and it's just like when we were talking about the Australian fires at the start of the year. That isn't anything that was new to Australia. It was just the severity of it was worse than before, and that's a similar situation here. Is that the certain conditions with our weather, with our earth, and with the what do you call it? Burning, the clearing of whatever that is. The lack of that.
It's forest maintenance. Clearing out the forest.
Yeah, that's one of the things. But so for the lightning and why we had so many is the higher volume of storms is basically the weather pattern leading to the storms was extreme. An abnormal occurrence of tropical moisture from the Pacific Ocean, making it farther north and west than usual this time of year. So there was an abnormal kind of tropical moisture that made its way up into an area where it's not. And so it's more typical to have monsoon moisture come into Northern California from the east, but in this instance, the culprit was the tropical moisture from the southwest.
Wow.
So what's threatening about tropical moisture, it's more conducive to thunderstorms. So basically, where's the next point here? You get what I'm saying. So we could,
if you're getting more thunder and less rain means that you can light things on fire and they don't get put out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we had
But by the way, that is a natural occurrence. That's something that's supposed to occur every once in a while, and that again is how these trees continue on.
Yeah, and it's been so. One of the things that we've seen is that in the past 10 years, 9 out of, I think the statistic was 9 out of the 10 fires in the past 10 years have been the worst in history.
Wow.
So we're definitely seeing a time where from the dryness, the drought, the shift in weather conditions, we're seeing fires more damaging than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, look, and I think, we are, as you all know, listening to the show, we try not to focus too much on climate change because we want solutions that are easier for the average person to look at and solve. Like, what can I do today?
That's why we don't
right now
make every single episode about climate change, because we know that is the overarching huge problem that we're trying to attack.
But this is an example of where when it gets a little bit warmer, that the dry seasons they're a little drier.
Yeah.
They're just that much drier, and so you have potential for more problems. But because we don't want to harp too much on it, because there are more problems on Earth than climate change that we can address and we can look at.
Yeah.
One of the biggest factors to the increased fires is population centers being built near giant forests.
Yeah.
I mean, that's we've got really huge cities in California that are right up against gigantic forests, and so people go out and they do what they do, and in this case it was natural. It was thunder. This was going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. And it's huge because we're having another good drought year here in California, and it's been hot. It's been warm.
Yeah.
And so that's something to look at. But this is just another reminder, though, that a lot of these fires can be prevented if you are responsible when you go out into to go camping with your family out into the woods when you're going into nature. Just look at fire safety. Good old Smokey the Bear, right? What can you do to make a difference, to be a little bit a little smarter about what you're doing when you're out there in the forests, so that you don't contribute unnecessary fire to a place that's not needed. And then also, and I think that there's more awareness of this now, that we need to do some more backburning.
Yeah.
We need to do a little better maintenance probably in some of these forests, and that's just something we got to look at a little. Yeah. Look at it a little better. But yeah. So. Anyways, that's
well, no. What I was going to say is, this is what's so funny. So you said something, and we're going to hit on it in a second because you just dropped Smokey the Bear. So that's important. So right out of the gate, climate change. Yes, this is a factor, right? It's an increasingly warmer world. Ecosystems will continue to dry out, and subsequently, fires will only get more fierce. We know that. They're going to be more frequent and burn more of the state.
Which, while we're solving the problem, means we need to be more responsible. That's what that means. You solve these problems. See, we can handle the issues of climate change while we solve the problem by being more responsible, by being more thoughtful of what we can do. Right, both technologically and through our own decisions. Yeah. But carry on.
Yeah. No, so you're right. You're right. So then after climate change, so we know that that's a factor, because when we talked about Australia, when we talk about these events, we know climate change is an issue. They said one of the second reasons why the fires have gotten worse is the winds.
Yep.
Okay? So the winds have increased our fires. We just have an increasing level of winds over the past decade, and that's a huge problem when you have fires. Right. And that's also another result of the weather shifting, changing, tropical storms, and moving around.
Yeah, and also it's all right. So California. Do I have time for an odd story?
You do, but then I'm just letting you know we're kind of circle back to Smokey the Bear.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Okay, no. Okay. Bring it.
So California is a great example of a really weird ecosystem. All right, so we have seasonal weirdness in California. It's normal, and obviously that does get exacerbated when the temperatures change. I'm not saying it doesn't. So for the people who think I hate climate change, I don't.
No, nobody thinks that. No, we run an environmental podcast. Right. They know you believe in climate change.
I'm always I feel like I've got to fight the other side all the time.
Yeah.
But
of course.
No, but there is, like, for instance, in the mid 1800s, like 1860, I think. It was after the gold rush kind of failed, and they were trying to build up agriculture in California. Mm-hmm. There was basically what they have is a 200-year storm that happens in California, where there's in the middle of California, and if you look at a map, or if you go on some Apple TV, you'll sometimes do a little flyover California, and you can see that there's a gigantic valley. They call it the Central Valley of California. And it's got mountains on all sides.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's basically just a gigantic bowl.
Okay.
And that's where we run our rivers through, and that's where all the farms are, and that's where we have growing populations in Bakersfield, in Fresno, Stockton, places like that, right? That are really cool cities in them, like that are farm cities.
Yeah.
And they're growing up. The problem is, in 1860, before they were growing up, and when the gold rush was over and that was being established, there was one of these 200-year storms. And so these storms, what essentially happens is it's kind of like El Nino. It's a little bit, it's the same concept. It's just that there's more of it.
Sure.
And
more El Nino.
And so basically, you get like a warm water road, almost like highway, that flushes storms for like basically months on end. It never end.
Yeah.
Into California. And when that happens, the floods are so high that the entire Central Valley becomes a lake larger than Lake Superior.
Wow.
And it happened very recently in written history. Yeah. In American history, it happened.
Wow.
And back then it was about a 15-foot high lake across that entire valley.
That's crazy.
Yes, it destroyed every homes. It's destroyed California.
Right.
Okay.
That Central Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the runoff, even on the other side, San Francisco had problems. Like there was problems even on the other side of it. But mostly for Central Valley, it was disastrous.
Yeah.
So they did research on it because they're like, well, this could be a problem, and they realized this is not an uncommon occurrence. It's an unusual occurrence, but it is part of California's system of droughts and floods and droughts and floods and droughts and floods.
Yeah.
So that wasn't even the biggest one. Like they went through the historical record, and there have been, where it gets up to like 30 feet of water in the Central Valley. It takes years to drain out.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
California is a place that is, because of its position on the Pacific Ocean, right, like below Alaska, above the tropics, like right kind of in the middle there, where every once in a while it gets odd weather, it gets odd winds, it gets things that are very unusual that cause it to have lots of drought and lots of flood.
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to look at a little bit more closely as Californians, because there's going to be another, if they call it a once in a 200-year storm.
Right.
And the expectation is that with the temperature raising higher, it's easier to get these warm water, right? The highways.
So class of 2060, you're up next.
Right.
Basically,
exactly.
right?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, it's something that we need to look at. Now we have better drainage now. We have all these, these. We have
systems in place that weren't in place
to help
back
with
then.
it. Yeah. Sure. So hopefully that would help it. It wouldn't be as bad. But if it rains for 3 straight months, there isn't really much that we can do about that.
Yeah.
Which is a problem because California produces. I've just scared the entire audience. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Everybody's terrified right now.
But it's a problem just because we produce in California. I mean, it's a lot of the food. It's like 40% of the food that we eat in America.
Yeah.
It's
a lot.
So other areas are going to have to pick up if that happens, because California will be out of business for a while if that occurs. But I didn't say that to scare everybody, and it's just sort of something that happens.
It's something to look
It's just
at.
something that happens. Something we probably need to look at and think about better. But I'm saying to kind of accentuate the point that odd winds coming is because we are in a spot where you get low pressure and high pressure systems that are all over the place.
Yeah.
And the valley, I mean, it's a massive valley. I mean, like it happens. Yeah. That's California. That's where we live. That's why it's such an interesting ecosystem.
Yeah. And it's good to think about. We have to, so if you are going to be one of if you're 10 right now, in 2060, you're going to be, 40? So you got to, am I doing my math wrong? No. Yeah. No, you're right, 40.
If you're 10 now, you're going to be 50.
You're going to be 50.
Yeah.
It's going to be 50.
If you're born today, you'll be 40.
So just know right now that in 2060, we hope there's been a lot of conversations by the time you're 50 about there could be another big
And that's an average.
Yeah,
an
average.
It might not happen this lifetime, but it could also happen next summer, next winter, right? So
it could happen. What we're saying, ladies and gentlemen, is it could happen at any time.
At any time.
At any time.
Run for your lives. No, it's we actually should look more at it because it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
It's a thing, people.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to bring up. Well, thank you for that, Noel. Thank you for that.
I was saying it to talk about winds, but now I'm worried that I've gone and
it's
panicked everybody.
Because I talked about if the climate change, things are dry, there's less runoff from the mountains, things are, there's a tropical moisture that gets trapped up there, and then it causes the lightning, but yet everything down below is dry. I mean, these are all the things that we're talking about, but you're also saying, but California as a whole is a very weird place, and it shifts and moves, and its
position on Earth is why it's why you can have Hollywood, why you can have a place where you have a beach that's an hour and a half from the snow.
In the mountains.
Because it's just an unusual place on Earth, where it's positioned next to the ocean and on the planet.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what you get.
Yeah. And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here. No, but now I'm going to bring it over to Smokey the Bear. You said Smokey the Bear, and I was kind of mad when I read this article because they threw Smokey the Bear under the bus.
What?
Right? So here, I'm going to read it to you. So it said...
Why are they saying? They're saying that only you can prevent forest fires is a lie?
Here's what it said. So it said, reason number 1 was climate change. Reason number 2 were winds. Again, these are the reasons why they're saying, why are we having so many more fires now? Mm-hmm. It said, reason number 3, Smokey the Bear. So they're right out of the gate blaming our buddy.
Oh, drop it on me.
Okay,
why?
so it says, it turns out Smokey Bear's famous mantra, only you can prevent forest fires, did more harm than good in the grand scheme of things.
Why?
But for more than a century, fire management officials have suppressed fires in the West, leading to an overgrowth of vegetation or fuel in ecosystems, according to the U.S. Forest Service. Now we're essentially playing catch up.
Oh, God, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. I'm so upset. We are going to the...
that's why I knew. I was like, first of all, I was like, how are you going to go and do my boy dirty like that?
Smokey the Bear's fault.
It is not his
Smokey
fault.
the Bear is telling you and me, us, to not
regular
start
people.
Forest fires.
Right.
Smokey the Bear is saying... Be responsible, normal, stupid human who goes into the forest and lights a fire.
You've got a backpack. You're going camping.
Are you telling me that the Forest Service is blaming Smokey the Bear for them not maintaining our forests?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what these people right here said. Because he delivered that message, fire management officials have suppressed fires.
Oh, my God. Fire management officials are not the ones. They're the ones who produce the videos. What the hell are you kidding me?
Right.
Oh my God. I'm so upset.
I want to be clear to the Biofriendly Podcast audience that Noel and I grew up with Smokey the Bear, and I love Smokey the Bear, and you can't just throw him under the bus. You can't talk dirty about my boy Smokey like that, okay?
You can't talk dirty about him when you have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly.
That is the most...
that's the bigger truth here.
This
is slander.
Oh my God. Children, if Smokey the Bear says only you can prevent forest fires, he means it. And he's not talking to his fellow idiot, butt-faced, lazy Forest Service animals who haven't done their job. Those guys are supposed to... What Smokey the Bear is saying
we're gonna take it down
is that you, person, who's going up to have a nice time with your family in the wilderness, who starts a nice campfire in order to have some s'mores, in order to have a great experience, maybe play some music, get the guitar around the fire, tell some campfire stories, something spooky.
Embrace nature like we're supposed to.
What Smokey the Bear is saying is when you're doing that, make sure that you build the fire responsibly. Put the fire in a cleared out area. Surround the fire with something that will stop the fire from spreading. A good little rock barrier, maybe something like that, right? Dig the fire down so it's not up and able to spread too easily. And then and keep an eye on it. Don't leave it alone. And then when you're done with it, use some of the nearby sand to put it out. Put that fire out so it's gone, and you just stay on until you know that it's gone, and you make sure that it's out.
That's what
Smokey the Bear is saying, and he's not talking to the forest officials and the forest management. He's talking to a normal human being going into the forest.
Right.
Now, to the forest management people who decided that Smokey the Bear was flipping talking to you.
I don't know if it was them or not, but these guys are saying that it's Smokey's fault for sending that message to the forest.
So this isn't the Forest Service saying
this. Isn't
well,
them saying
that's
it.
better.
Then
I take back a little bit of what I'm saying.
But it's fair. I mean, he's a father. He has little Smokey.
He has little Smokey.
Let's not. I mean, this is a family bear.
I can't believe that that's true. I can't believe that I think it's lack of funding.
Yeah.
I think a lack of funding, and I think that it's probably a little bit of like, we'll deal with it tomorrow, like kicking the rock down the road.
Right.
That's what I think this is. I think it's we don't have enough rangers or it's something to that effect.
I agree with you.
And them kicking, and I will look, now I'm going to look it up because I'm so mad.
Yeah.
But I'll believe, and I apologize if I was mean to the Forest Service. I thought they wrote the article, and so I was about to just throw a brick.
No, but it's fair that anybody would begin to say that Smokey the Bear was to blame for the overgrowth in forests.
It's not his job.
That's not his job, guys.
His job is to warn you that you got to be responsible with your fires. I can't believe how mad this made me.
I know. I love it. But I'm gonna read real quick. It says so you know what we're talking about with this overgrowth and kind of explain that, especially in California. Many of California's ecosystems are well adapted to fire. Some native plant and tree species even require it to sprout new growth. But these delicate systems that often operate on specific cycles. For example, a chaparral stand may have a burn cycle.
I think it's chaparral.
Is that chaparral?
Yeah.
Okay, a chaparral. Yeah, I don't know why. Chaparral. A chaparral stand may have a burn cycle of anywhere from 30 to 100 years, whereas a ponderosa pine stand may need only a few years between each fire.
Right.
If intense fires occur too frequently, native plant species can become replaced by, say, invasive grasses, which burn quickly and don't hold soil well. So that's what we're trying to say is that's what the forest is all about. It has its own built-in ability to kind of have the fires and continue to grow. And this article is saying because of Smokey the Bear, the forest management wasn't allowing the fires to happen so that it could be natural, right? That's what they're saying.
I think that's what they're saying, and I think that's an unfair...
It is unfair.
Unfair way to categorize that for Smokey the Bear.
Agreed.
I think that there was definitely irresponsibility on managing the forest. There was. And I don't want to sit here and after I just said what I said in my anger thinking the Forest Service wrote that. It's not the Forest Service who wrote that. So I'm not going to keep throwing Forest Service under the bus. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that budget cuts, lack of rangers, lack of people to help probably had more to do with it than anything else.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was one of the great services that Native Americans did throughout this
people
country.
Who knew how to run this land.
Oh man, they would clear out. They would do their own backfires and they would help clear out the forest and keep it under control.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be doing it. And actually, again, more props to the fire department. You'll see throughout through the winter months or like in the at the end of fall when it cools down at the beginning or the end of spring, that you'll see that they put out controlled burns where you'll actually see that the fire department actually does do controlled burns, and you'll sometimes see them in the hills or like all over the place because they've as fire breaks, but also to try to get ahead of it. So. Yeah. It's done. We do it. We got to do more of it. We've got to be better about it. We got to be responsible with what we do with that.
Right.
But
it's as long as everybody knows that you can't go around blaming Smokey.
It's not Smokey's. Smokey should get a contract extension.
That's like blaming G.I. Joe for drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Knowing
G.I.
is
Joe.
half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle was literally a message campaign. That's like them saying, well, now because G.I. Joe said knowing is half the battle, now everybody knows about drugs.
And so
that's why
drugs.
There's a lot more drugs. Because G.I. Joe decided to talk about it so much.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in we are being silly, but it's in all honesty, that's what it sounded like. And if you don't know what G.I. Joe is, they were action figures and a cartoon. They made a G.I. Joe movie, so you probably know what it is. But action
had that
figures.
Other handsome guy who was Miracle Mike or whatever.
Was he in that? Channing Tatum?
Channing Tatum. He was in
G.I. Joe?
The first G.I. Joe, I think. Maybe the second one. He's in one.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
I need to watch G.I. Joe.
Yeah, baby.
When we were growing up in the 80s, they had these ads, like TV spots that were G.I. Joe trying to educate you on the right thing to do, like not getting in crime and trouble and doing drugs and all that. And so that was knowing is half the battle. So that's what we're referencing. And it would be silly to blame them for G.I. Joe for drugs.
For drugs.
Yeah. So that's all we're trying to say.
No.
Yeah.
Blame, insert political party here for drugs.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, that's all I have on the data about the California fires and these last 3 big ones that happened in August. They're all getting closer to being contained, and we're doing better. They were awful fires, so.
Yeah,
we're
if we do a better job of getting the back burning done, and I believe attention is actually being put on that now.
Yeah.
And people who go into the mountains listen to Smokey the Bear and prevent the forest fires by being responsible with what they're doing. And then also look, some of the telecommunications and power industry folks have been sued through the brains because of what they've done out in different wildernesses by starting some fires. Yeah. So that's being cleaned up too. So this should improve just through us being more responsible, but it is something that if we all kind of put a little bit more attention on it and are a little smarter about it, that we can help with, because it is likely, as the world warms here a bit, that the fires are going to be more they're going to be more severe. If they light, they're going to be a little worse.
It's going to keep happening.
Right. So we want to be smarter about it, and we want to be better about it, and then they'll be fine. Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, the Amazon has had a worse year this year than last year.
Yeah.
And and nobody's
that hasn't been on the headlines. So
nobody's talking about it. Yeah. Which reminds me,
I was gonna say, bring it to me.
I read something that I think we should also debunk real quick.
Okay. Debunking with Noel.
Debunking with Noel. Trees do recycle oxygen. They do. But
what's the claim? The claim is
that by burning down the Amazon, we're burning. You're losing. They produce 20% of the oxygen on planet Earth. Oh, it's not true.
Not true.
It actually produces like fractions of a percentage of the oxygen on Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Amazon, like every forest that has its own cellular respiration. So go ahead and look up cellular respiration. That's one of the factors. Yeah. And also that the microbes and what lives in the tree itself absorbs oxygen. So the net gain of oxygen from trees is actually it's a little bit. A little bit, but it's not a lot. What it does do is it recycles, it refreshes the oxygen. It just doesn't add much more. Our oxygen mostly comes from like millions and millions of years of activity in the ocean.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that has been releasing oxygen, and we have about like a 5 million year supply of oxygen in the planet
from the ocean.
Yeah, that's there, and then that supply kind of just slowly just kind of gets refreshed and moved around. Wow. It doesn't really go up, doesn't really go down. It sort of stays about where it is and has been for the last 5 million years. Doesn't really change. So burning down the Amazon wouldn't run us out of oxygen. Right. Really, it doesn't make
this idea of it being the lungs of the earth.
It's
right?
It's not the lungs of the earth. That's not true. Yeah, that's not true. But we shouldn't be burning it down.
Right.
We should not be burning it down because it's there because of the ecosystem, because what lives in there, because of what's there. The old forest in the Amazon, defend it for that. Like, talk about that when you're talking to people about why we want to keep the Amazon. Defend it because there are species in there that for some of them we don't know about, and some that can only live in that old growth forest that's there, and that we would lose forever if we lost that forest. So jungle, excuse me. So we want to keep that.
Yeah. Well, it's as we say on the show, the point being the data is enough. See, these phrases are thrown around, this hyperbole, the lungs of the earth. They're used against people, but then what ends up happening is the moment the person who's kind of, not willing to come around on the idea, they just do a little bit of digging and they find out that's not true. And then they're taking what you're asking of them less seriously because you're going, you're throwing all this stuff at me that isn't true. If we lose the forest, we're not going to have any oxygen left. And they find out that's not true. And then they go, well, you're full of it. I'm not going to do anything to change.
Right. And then you just get known as someone who's just a fake newser and a faker. And you don't want to be known as a faker. You want to have your facts accurate.
You have your facts accurate.
Fight for the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So of course we want the Amazon to not be burned down, and of course we want the species to survive, but we want to make sure that the reasons why are because of what the Amazon provides for Earth.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Not some made up if it's gone, then we can't breathe.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And also, like, I think this is another one of those things we talk a little bit about developing countries versus developed countries, right?
Right.
Like if you live in America or in Europe, then your responsibility right now is to put some trees back because we've got the technology to keep most people in a few small cities.
Yeah.
And to have less farmland to get the same amount of food, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
and we're also learning to eat more vegetables, and we're learning to be more responsible with, it's a process. We're not there, but
we're learning. We're getting
better about it, right? And the less land we use for that, the more we should give back to nature. So you got to grow trees, right? But when you're in Latin America, you got to remember, you got to think with facts, right? People, they want to have a good environment, but really they want to make it to tomorrow. That's the number one concern for most people is how am I going to live to tomorrow?
Yeah.
So if soy farming is going to keep your family alive, you're not going to listen to somebody who says don't do that, right? So we've got to find ways to be more thoughtful about how to make it easier for people who are soy farming to do a better job of it, to give them what they need in order to not need so much land, and to provide them areas like the Cerrado forest is a lot better for this kind of thing. If you're going to burn something down, keep it up there, and that's 60% of their farms are up there. But there have been things that have taken away some of that, which is what's making some of them come down to the Amazon again. But the Cerrado forest doesn't have as much old growth, and it doesn't have as much. But it has some biodiversity. We don't want to lose that either. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't have quite as much, and it's more like a savanna sort of atmosphere. But it's much better for what they're doing, right?
Right.
So if you start to concede a couple things and let people develop and get themselves so that their economy can get to a point where they can also stack big cities and have better farms and have better things, you're not going to have them burning down the forest because they don't need to. Right? We don't need to burn down forests in America. We don't need to do it. We don't need the farmland. We've already done it.
Yeah.
The forests are gone. It's farmland.
It's farmland.
So it's, it's just a thing to think about. A little thing to put into your
I think it's important. I'm glad you debunked. That's been debunking with Noel. No, but before we get out of here, this is just really a sidebar more than anything, just kind of a fun thing to close out. But what's so funny is I found this is a piece of technology that somebody's invented to help combat wildfires that I thought was pretty cool. And after all that we just did about Smokey, the article totally opens up still talking about Smokey the Bear. It's like every article that when you talk about wildfires, it's like that's the only thing you can say. This says Smokey the Bear admonished that only you can prevent forest fires, but what if Smokey had some high-tech backup? Ooh. So this is actually
they're pro Smokey.
Yeah, they're pro Smokey.
I feel like they're pro. I'm going to say they're pro Smokey even if they're not.
We need to have T-shirts that say Team Smokey. Team Smokey.
We're Team Smokey. That's
Team
us.
Smokey. We are totally Team Smokey. So no, this is basically a self-powered. Were you making sure nobody was calling you?
Yeah, I have this habit of forgetting to turn my phone into the airplane mode, and then it goes all into pop. I apologize for going away. People.
At least it didn't go off. But my iPad, I think, in the middle of the show did do a chime. Sorry about that.
Man, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Self-powered wildfire detector could help fight the spread of deadly blazes using the motion of trees for power.
What?
Yep.
Tell me this.
A team of scientists at Michigan State University have developed a remote forest fire detector and alarm system powered by nothing but the movement of the trees. So, as detailed in their new study published in the Journal of blah-de-blah. No, I'm kidding. Of Advanced Functional Materials.
The Journal of blah-de-blah. You've all read from it.
The battery-free device, which is important to note, device generates electrical power by harvesting energy from the sporadic movement of the tree branches from which it hangs.
That's great.
So, believed to be the first of its kind, the device, which is the size of a soup can and costs $20 to produce, would be likely much cheaper than manned patrols searching from fire watchtowers and more reliable than satellite monitoring, which may be hindered by weather or fire smoke. Yeah. So the cool thing about it, too, is, of course, solar powered was always an issue because you have the tree coverage in the forest and it can't get enough light to it. But by just this kind of sporadic movement, this thing that has no battery can alert people of fires breaking out. And you don't have to have guys wandering out in the middle of nowhere.
No, you just jump in the fire chopper and go look. It's like, there it is. It's definitely a fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of,
and
exciting
you know where
innovation.
to look. You know where, like you're not worried about like, is it roughly here? Roughly, you can get right to the spot.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
So these are I think this is just being developed from these scientists at Michigan State, but that was kind of our uplifting, with the subject of today being about wildfires and climate change and what we can do and what we're capable of doing.
Yeah.
I encourage our listeners who are constantly looking for ways to help and put your brains to use in your ideas. You may be the kind of person out there that could come up with something that is, a wind-powered fire detector or an app or something that could really help people in California and these parts of the world be able to detect fires and prevent, be like Smokey. Only you can prevent forest fires. Maybe you can do it in a new 21st century way.
We've also got to ask Tara to get one of the writers to go to do, because I don't think we've had in a long while a write-up on how to safely camp with your family in regards to fire.
Oh, that's a great idea on Biofriendly Planet.
Yeah, we should put something up so you can find that, so you've got that resource available.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We'll put that out there for sure.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Ending on a kind of a cool.
I'm just glad that we stood up for Smokey, because I feel like that's, don't mess with Smokey on this show.
Yeah.
That's just we'll defend Smokey to the death.
Is that worthy of throwing in the tags? Don't mess with Smokey.
Oh yes, that is.
I feel like it is.
Don't mess with Smokey.
We needed a new
on
tag,
this show.
and you don't mess with Smokey on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Good. Okay.
Well, in that regard, we're the Biofriendly Podcast, and we're your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Featuring greater parasympathetic nerve activity.
More than just charismatic megafauna.
Dolphins don't quit.
Nature is perfect. Look at eggs.
We are y'all inclusive.
And don't mess with Smokey on this show.
Yeah,
I love it.
I like it.
Don't mess with Smokey.
I'm gonna miss this year's tags when they're gone.
Yeah, I am.
Good.
I am. It's we're getting them down. We're gonna have the 2020 batch of tags, and then we're gonna start all over again, and shuffle our way and forget them terribly for about the first 7-8 months, and then right when we get them down, it's time for them to go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, what'll be great is by the time we get to it, people will be tired of them.
Yes.
And they'll be like, it's time to move on.
Assuming they're not already tired of them.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
They're the greatest tags of all time.
They're just happy that we're getting through them now.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time on the Biofriendly Podcast.
Bye!
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.